Hi everyone, just wanted to talk about the effects of A, H, and K on the quadratic functions and how this compares to some of the other functions that we've looked at in the past. So first off, just from our straight visual look, we can tell that this function looks very similar to the absolute value function that we would have dealt with in the past. And I will say, lucky for all of us, A, H, and K pretty much perform the exact same way. The functions are basically the same in terms of how the A, H, and K operate. The only difference is the absolute value function, that's a V. Whereas the parabola, it's going to be kind of the U shape, so to speak. It's a parabola. All right, so let's, just going off of that, let's talk about what A, H, and K are. So A, just like before, is going to affect essentially how, well, first of all, whether or not it opens up or down. So if A is greater than 0, it's going to open up. And if it's less than 0, it's going to open down. So it is going to affect that. And it also is still going to affect kind of the width, right? And by that, I mean, is it going to be a wide parabola? If it's between -1 and 1, it's going to be wider. Is it going to be a very skinny parabola? If it's a really big number out front, is it going to be a skinny, like super skinny? And it really increases quickly. We necessarily, in the past, I've kind of referred to A as the slope in terms of like the different sides of the absolute value function. It's a little bit weird to describe it as slope in this case, so we're just going to deal with whether or not it's stretching it. But it is still dealing with opening up and opening down. H, that's still going to be our horizontal. Okay, so that's my horizontal shift. And then my K, that's still going to be my vertical shift. So these are still the same. And then H and K is still going to be the vertex. All right. So then we would have H, K as my vertex. And we still need to be careful because in this one, H is still, it's minus H still. So if you get like +2, that's actually negative, right? So you need to be careful with that still. All right, so let me just erase this so I can open up the other part of the screen so you can see what happens when we start fiddling around with A, H, and K. So if we open this up, you'll see, first of all, some pieces of information that are really helpful. We can fiddle with this and see what the different things are. We'll see that the value of A does not actually affect the location of the vertex. It just affects the direction, like whether or not it's opening up or down, and it'll affect the width. So this is the vertex form, as I said. It has the just general translation visually shown of ax squared. So kind of like our parent function here, just times a. And we know that it's transformed horizontally by h and vertically by k. So what the heck does that look like? So right, if I make my a get close to 0, right? I'm getting very close to 0. It's getting wider. If I get really big, well, 2 in this case, it gets skinnier. Same thing over here. We're getting wider, but now we're less than 0 and it's upside down, right? And again, it gets super skinny, things like that. All right, so negative up, it opens down. And then if I went back up here to something like that, it's wider, right? So H, again, if I go to the right, we're going to shift, right? We're shifting, we're shifting, we're shifting. H is dealing with that. I'm going to the left when it's negative. Now we can go up and down. So up for K, down, K, up and down, all right? So that is ultimately how you're going to be dealing with graphing these particular functions, right? You're going to be dealing with finding what A, H, and K are, and then based on the general function, or the parent function, I should say, right? If you're starting here, you go over H and K, and then, or you go over H and K, and then we'll affect it based on what A looks like, right? So the only difficulty with this one is you can't necessarily just count like you used to been doing with A before. You would have to plug in some points in regards to A, but you still get the general idea of what it looks like. So I hope this helped. Please let me know if you have any questions.